days. We're back again for another episode of Domino Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball, Aaron Olinger. What's up, everybody? Glad you're able to tune in. Apologies for starting a little late, but we got to chatting behind the scenes here and kind of lost track of time. So we're gonna. There's so many things that's going on right now, so we generally take that little time before the show to kind of catch up on everything. But well, there's really is so much going on right now. We just time just kind of slipped, so we're gonna jump into this as quick as possible. But before we do, everybody hit that like button. That way, that gets us out on the proper algorithm. Um, Seriously, guys, hit that like button. We can actually see this, okay? And we can see how many people's watching. Hit the like button so we can get this out there on the proper algorithm and get the right people actually tuning in and watching this. So go jump right in this. So tonight we're not asking whether there's a war in the Middle East. We already know that there is. The real question is how far will the consequences spread, and how prepared is the world for the conflict if this continues to grow? So over the past days, we watched military strikes intensify, American service members being killed and injured. Iran's military infrastructure came under a sustained attack, and new warnings emerged about America's stockpile of precision weapons. Now, new reports indicate that a conflict may be expanding even further, with the Houthi forces claiming attacks uh, excuse me, claiming attacks on Saudi Arabian tankers and commercial shipping once again being forced to change course. This is something that we talked about last week. Um, History has shown to us that war rarely stays contained on the battlefield. They affect economies, supply chain, fuel prices, financial markets, um, international alliances, and the daily lives of ordinary people thousands of miles away. Sometimes the biggest consequence aren't felt when the missiles are first fired. They're felt months later at the gas pump, at your grocery store, government budgets, and the decision to reshape this global politic that they have going on right now. So tonight we're going to examine the facts, separate verified information from speculation, and ask that difficult but unnecessary question: what has Iran actually lost? What has America already spent? Can the U.S. sustain this prolonged conflict? And could our military respond effectively if another major crisis erupted somewhere else around the world? And what happens if today's regional conflict becomes tomorrow's global one? Now, most importantly, we're going to connect the dots because this story isn't just about missiles and military strategy and diplomacy. It's about a chain reaction that begins when one conflict starts and countless others begin to go into motion. So every discussion creates another consequence. Every strike produces another response. And every escalation carries the cost that reaches far beyond the battlefield. So this isn't about predicting the future or choosing sides. It's about understanding the events unfolding before us right now, recognizing the risk, and asking the question that deserves answers before these consequences reach our own communities and our own households. So we're going to start out with some of these um, developments that's um, that's hit here in the past 24 hours, and then we're going to kind of go along from there. So the Pentagon announced today that U.S. forces completed their 11 consecutive night strikes against Iranian targets. And according to U.S. officials, the latest attacks focused on aircraft hangars, drone storage sites, and other military infrastructure. Um, you also have President Trump that again warned that the U.S. could strike Iran's deeply buried Pickaxe Mountain facility. That's one of their facilities that they said it was supposed to be, which U.S. and Israeli officials suspect could support future nuclear activity. Now, Iran responded by insisting that there is no nuclear activity there. And that site was warned that if any attacks happened there, that they would get an eye-for-an-eye response. So that's one that we're going to talk about. I think that's a good discussion point there because is Pickaxe Mountain truly a military necessity, or attacking or is attacking that particular place going to escalate what's really going on? So I'm gonna start with you, Aaron. Dealing with Pickaxe Mountain, what do you know much about that facility?
Just a little bit. It's similar to that other facility that we hit. Our intelligence has indicated that they have that nuclear dust there and they have centrifuges there. But what I found interesting was I just learned that Iran recently, and kind of kept a secret, had discovered that they have uranium in their own country. So they don't have to get it from us or anybody else anymore. And as long as they have access to uranium, they're going to always have the option to be able to enrich it themselves. Trump made a statement that Pickaxe Mountain, if that's where the centrifuges and uranium dust is, that's what we're going to hit next. And if they move it to another location, wherever we learn where it's at, that's where we're going to strike. And that kind of amazes me, but they've got those special bunker busters that can really dig down in the ground. And I mean, you almost have to be shooting like William Tell with shooting a bow and arrow. You got to keep putting that next bomb right behind the other one to get any distance in the ground, because Pickaxe Mountain is mostly granite. And granite has a 6.0 rating, with 10 being the highest scale. Quartz and diamond is your hardest. But you got to punch through solid granite to get down to it. And that's what our installation of Cheyenne Mountain is buried in, a wall of granite. And it's supposed to be able to take up to three megaton weapon and still survive it. So not being able to use a nuke, you're going to be hard pressed to get through all that granite. But I'll stop there.
No, he's absolutely right. To get through something like that, Pickaxe Mountain would be exactly what we basically did this last ordeal, was sending bunker busters that are around, I mean, anywhere from 10 to 30,000 pounds each. But the specific one that we did last time, where we dropped 14 total, but we dropped 12 on that location on that mountain, was 30,000 pound bunker busters. Now, the interesting stuff that is going on, about that is, yes, to answer your question, would it be an escalation if we went to that level? Well, of course. It would definitely, of course, be an escalation, whether we like that stat or not, or whatever, just obviously is. So for every action, there's a reaction. I don't care as minuscule as maybe a strike or whatever the case is. They're going to go ahead and strike back. Same thing with us destroying something. They're, of course, going to do their best to, equally give it to maybe the Arab countries around, because they obviously can't reach us from where they are on a geographical level. So they have to go after our bases and after our Arab partners. Right now, speaking of our Arab partners, we have some interesting developments that's going on with Saudi Arabia and Yemen, and the Houthi rebels in particular. So we had last week where Saudi Arabia attacked the Houthis in Yemen, their major airport over there for Yemen. And so the retaliation towards that was, well, there's now a naval blockade in the Strait, for not the Strait of Hormuz, the one that's over there on the coastline of Yemen. It is now a blockade right here in this bottleneck for Saudi Arabia only. So this morning, or just, I don't know, about an hour and a half ago, there was developments happening where Yemen actually made, or not Yemen, the Houthi rebels in particular made claims that they struck two vessels, tankers from Saudi Arabia right here in the Red Sea. just right here, right before it goes into the bottleneck. And I've only been able to confirm one of those ships, one of those tankers being on fire. And the other one, the Houthis are claiming that both of them are on fire, but I can only confirm one of them. So we have a lot of, this is not just a like Iran and United States problem, right? Like now we have, this is graduated into the aspect of to the region, and developments are going to be interesting nonetheless.
Let me add to that, because that strait's called the Bab el Mandab Strait. The Houthis have reached out to the Somalis, and they're trying to strike a deal with Somalia, especially the pirates there, that they're going to supply them with weapons and rockets and stuff to help them hold that strait. And the Somalis seem to be willing to do so. I'm sure there's some money involved in it as well. But I did see last night when I was up till 5 a.m. that there were 6 Saudi Arabia ships that turned around and tried to go away from that strait. And I'm wondering if 2 of them toward the rear of the pack got hit. But there was 6 that was coming down through there until they got stopped butt cold and had to run for their lives, basically. But Iran and the Houthis is trying to work a deal with the Somalis.
Mm-hmm. So you have the strait closed, and now you have the Houthi rebels trying to partner up with the Somali pirates for the other strait. Now, we had talked about this last week. Matter of fact, Aaron, you was talking about this last week, that if that happened and you had a confrontation on both straits, that basically shuts down that whole section.
Yep.
By a long shot. Not only that, because the Strait of Hormuz is a little bit interesting because obviously when you get past on the inlet side where you're going into, there's a difference because there's more two-way traffic that's actually happening down here than there actually is up there in the Strait of Hormuz. And that's because they're all going up to Europe, right? This is where you go to get up to Europe. So right. This is not only a humongous bottleneck for the shipping routes for just oil, but not only just that, it's all cargo. So this is a big deal. Now, again, I got to reiterate, the blockade is only right now for Saudi Arabia, and that's because of them retaliating on Saudi attacks on their their Yemen. That's right. So anyways, it was an airport that was struck by Saudi Arabia, and now that's the response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, since this conflict has began, America's lost 18 service members, and well over 430, and some recent reports, nearly 500 were injured. This week alone, we have 4 American troops that were killed and nearly 100 injured. Now, most of these injuries were classified as non-fatal, and the Pentagon says that a vast majority have already returned back to duty. But every casualty is a reminder that there's a cost to conflict. And it's not only measured by dollars and equipment, but it's also measured in lives and sacrifices of men and women that's out there. Now, they've, over the past week, you showed several videos I've seen online on different channels showing these drone strikes, especially over in Jordan and hitting these U.S. bases. And it seems to be like they're just hitting these spots at will. You know what I mean? Like, it's not showing a whole lot of retaliation going back and forth. It's just like they just coming in and just hitting. So my question would be, why are we keeping our service members at this base or at these bases? They've already been they've already been hit several times. So there's, you know, what I mean, there's a lot of damage, which the Pentagon hasn't really popped out and said exactly how much damage is actually done there. But you have service members there, and there has been some that has gotten messages back over to the states saying that they're basically unprotected there, and they're steady getting hit. You know what I mean? So they're so I guess my question would be, why would we knowingly keep service members on these bases knowing that they're getting struck to where they're getting struck, and really there's nothing there that they can actually do about it? It's just more like sitting ducks.
Yeah, no, you're right. I actually watched a video earlier today of the strikes that happened yesterday or whatever on one of our bases, and watching, there was a guy that actually was a service member that had his meta glasses running while the strikes were coming in and sirens are going and they're running into the bunker and all that. And I often ask those questions too. What you proposed there, like, why would you even be there if you know you're targeted? Now, one location that was targeted by Iran was Syria. They were making the claims that they attacked our base over there in Syria and actually took a couple of people hostage, which was total BS, by the way. That didn't happen because we actually withdrew our troops from that location in February. So it was we didn't even have people there for you to capture. But yes, it is interesting where you place your people when you know there are incoming, you're targeted right now. What are you going to do with that? Why would you just be a sitting duck? Why wouldn't you now go on to one of the aircraft carriers or something? I'm just saying, let's move somewhere else, right?
Okay, I'd like to address that. One, we're contracted to. We've signed agreements with them.
True.
We put our troops in harm's way because they were afraid of Iran. Iran this week has threatened, part of their escalation that they can up the ante is they said that if we start a ground war in their country, they're going to start a ground war and they're going to invade Kuwait and some of them other countries that we have bases in. And I kind of laughed when I heard it because our satellites will spot you coming. We can see you coming a long ways off. It ain't gonna be no surprise attack. You might think you surprising us, but we're watching you come. Our air power will decimate you in the desert. And if any of your people makes it to that base, our soldiers are very competent and I will say they've got an expertise at using their hand weapons. And what few makes it to the base, they ain't coming back home. And our soldiers will probably be laughing the whole time they're shooting them down. We got Gatling guns. We got sea rams that work like Sea Whiz on the destroyers that can shoot shit out of the air as well as come down to the ground and chew some stuff up. We got all kinds of weapons. So, but we're contracted to be there. So we have to keep people in place in the event Iran carries out their promise to come into a ground war in the event we enter a ground war with them. Then Trump also said today that if Iran shoots at any ship in the Strait of Hormuz, from this point forward, the United States will attack either bridges or power stations. For everything that they hit, depending upon what type of weapon they use, how badly they destroy it, is going to determine if we hit a bridge or a power station.
Real quick on the bridges,
okay.
In Tehran specifically, because we actually have already taken out 9 bridges in the Bandar Abbas region.
Right.
And we did that to, interrupt their internal way of being able to move stuff from the port.
Yeah.
And so nonetheless, going up there in Tehran and bombing bridges is even a way bigger deal. Because location on these kind of things. So absolutely. And you're right about what we're, going to be targeting, because that's what Trump was saying earlier today, right?
Mm-hmm. And see, Iran opened that can of worms. They have been attacking desalination plants in some of those nations, and they've been hitting power stations. So when you take out the power to a desert environment where people don't have air conditioning no more, they don't have water, that in itself is a war crime, but no one's calling it that. But you watch and see when we start bombing theirs, Or let's say if Netanyahu started, because Israel wants to get back involved and we're holding them back. If they decide to start bombing power stations and water stations, watch and see, don't they call that a war crime? But Iran could do it all day and nobody's saying nothing. But they opened a can of worms there doing what they did. I just hope that they're prepared for what's going to happen when we start doing it to them.
See, but the question that you're gonna get there is the reason. So you just said if Iran does it, that don't nobody say nothing. But if we do it, it's considered a war crime. Well, the reason for that is the small little thing called the Geneva Convention. And in that Geneva Convention, it states that there is it's basically a rule to war. If anybody ever read the Geneva Convention,
Sure.
basically rules to war on our end, dealing with NATO, the UN, and so forth. And it's it's crazy because you would think, the average person would think, okay, you at war. War is war. You do whatever is necessary to win a war. That's what you think, right? Not realizing that there's an actual book to it as to what you can and cannot do in a war. You know what I mean? But that only applies to you. It applies to NATO. It doesn't apply to the other side. So to them, they don't give a damn about what the Geneva Convention says. War is war. To you, you have to do it a different way. So that's why a lot of this stuff, when they're planning this, they have to be strategic about what they're doing and how they're doing it. You know what I mean? So let's say, for instance, that they hit a weapons building that just so happens to be beside a power plant, then that's a oops, we hit this building. It hit that one. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They can't directly say we're doing this, even though Trump is saying this. We're going to hit power stations. We're going to hit water supply. You know what I mean? There's rules to this shit, whether people realize this or not. You know what I mean? It's not just you just go over and shoot them up, bang, bang, and we're going to see what it is. There's actually rules on our side of the board that has to be followed. That doesn't have to be followed on the other side. Now, according to a lot of these U.S. officials, and multiple news reports, the American strikes targeted, these missile launch sites, these drone facilities, these command and control centers, and air defense systems, and it went out. I mean, they showed a map where they've been all around Iran, hitting everything that they could possibly hit. A lot of logistic hubs and all of that. And it says that the stated objective has been reduced, and it has reduced Iran's ability to launch additional attacks and threaten shipping in that region. It's been hitting a lot of missile sites. They still got these little cheap drones that's actually doing a damn good job doing this. So they've showed that, no, they're not launching as many missiles as they were, but they're launching more drones. And these drones is doing the job that these missiles would have done. You know what I mean? And they're, like I said, they're cheap. So what they're making these drones for, what, 15,000, 20,000 for these drones that is taking us $2 million missiles to shoot them down. You know what I mean? And they just hitting at will. They're going everywhere. You know what I mean? Most of these drones have 2,000-mile ranges on them that they're bouncing around and hitting. You know what I mean?
This is last night's strikes right there. That
Right.
was just on last night. And look up all the way up there in Tehran and actually around the region, just northeast as well. So this all just happened last night, and we're actually in the mix right now of the 12th night right now. So, anyways, just wanted to show you the amount of strikes on a visual aspect, what we were looking at.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the other big questions that they're asking over on this side is, it's not about the fact which everybody knows that the U.S. has the strongest military in the world. But a lot of these defense analysis that's been coming on are saying that the real question is whether they have enough precision guided weapons and missile interceptors to be able to sustain a long war dealing with this. So, like over the past couple of years, the U.S. supplied billions of dollars in military aid to a lot of the allies. You got Israel, you got Ukraine specifically, uh, while also conducting operations in the Middle East. Um, you had something that went on in Nigeria. You had Venezuela. You had several other uh, uh, places that the U.S. has been involved in. Not to mention the overall sale of these weapon systems to a lot of the NATO alliances, stuff like that. Now, um, a lot of their advanced weapons like THAAD interceptors, the Patriot interceptors, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and a lot of their long range precision munitions has been drawn down. So a lot of the people that's on there talking now, a lot of these analysts that's on there talking now is saying, okay, we have these weapons, but we know that we're running short on these weapons. And how long could we be able to sustain this over here? And not to mention, if you put all your chips in a barrel and go over here dealing with this, and if something else comes on somewhere else, and they're talking about this whole China Taiwan thing, what are you going to do if you basically got everything focused over here? You know what I mean? But right now, you got to have everything focused over there right now because, like I said, you're threatening both straits right now. If you block off both of them straits, it ain't just the U.S. is going to suffer. Everybody across this globe suffers if those two straits is shut down, which is crazy when you look at it, how vast this world is, how big this world is, and two straits can basically shut down the economy to the world.
In the exact same region too. And, you
Right.
know, it's kind of crazy the amount of power that shipping routes truly do have, and that solidifies it, 100%. When I was a kid, I worked on the ocean. This is what I did was industrial level stuff like this, and so it's very. And now I never went through these regions, but I know a lot of sailors do. I mean, that's kind of standard to go up to, obviously, to go up and in between. This is the way that Europe is fed. I mean, it's a humongous thing, and it just so happens to be all in the same area of Iran. It's right there. Look at that. I mean, it's right there. So yeah, they're able to shut down like half of the world just alone with that.
Mm-hmm. So the Pentagon has already responded by saying that they uh, increased contracts with these defense manufacturers and encourage them to go faster with the production of these missiles, these interceptors, and these artillery batteries, and a lot of the other crucial uh, equipment that they've been using over there. And a lot of these military planners know that if this conflict continues for months on end, or if another crisis develops somewhere else in the world, that ability to manufacture these weapons could become just as important as the weapons sitting in the storage. So they're trying to hurry up and replace these weapons as quick as they can. I seen a thing today where they had um, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth that was in Congress today. Um, and they're trying to get another 37.5 billion, and along with the House advance of 95 billion to fund the war and some other administrative which he's facing a lot of scrutiny over that right now because they don't want to give him that money because they're asking, okay, you didn't want to come to us to talk to us about this when y'all decided that y'all was going to do this. When we kept asking you to come in and talk about this, you kept saying, no, this ain't a war. This is just a confrontation. This is this, to keep from having to get Congress's okay for them to continue to do this thing. Now they got to go to Congress because the Pentagon going broke, and they need more weapons, so they need more money, which they're getting a lot of holdback, not just from Democrats but Republicans as well, because they feel that you basically went around us to do this in the first place, but now you need us because we're the ones that's can open up the purse and give you what you want. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have this little issue that's gonna be going on here as to whether or not they're gonna actually give them those funds. Now, this 95 billion budget proposal, and then you got the 37.5 billion that they want now, on top of the 1.5 trillion that they doing to the next physical defense budget. That's a lot of bread that's going to one spot, especially being the fact that the Department of Defense can't even pass an audit and hasn't passed an audit in the past 8-9 years.
Correct. Yep.
You know what I mean? That's a lot of money that you shelling out, not knowing exactly where this money going to, because every audit that they get, they fail it miserably, which is
there it is,
kind
right
of
there.
crazy to me. How do you fail so many audits and still get that much money?
So it says, as of today, the Trump administration is asking Congress for approximately $87.6 billion in supplemental funding, often rounded to $88 billion. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's a lot of money. We're not joking around with that kind of money.
Right. And you basically spending roughly, was it $2 billion a day?
Oh, I don't know what the
right
daily
now
is. I'll actually ask it just for fun.
Yeah, I think the last I checked, it was estimated right around $2 billion a day. It may have went up, give or take a little bit, but it's pretty. I bet you it's still pretty close to that. But even with that, I mean, that's a lot of bread that you're spending on this. You know what I mean? Now, by you giving this money, what are you essentially doing? You're just printing it out, right? So the more you printing out to take care of this, you're dropping your value of your dollar even more. You know what I mean? Now you're gonna go through, and for the original 1.5 that you're asking for the next fiscal year, you're already pulling away from a lot of these other programs and contracts and other things that you already had set up for. You're deducting a lot of that stuff anyway in order to fund this 1.5 billion. I mean, now you sitting here doing this again. Okay, so how are you going to do this? Where's this money coming from besides you just printing it out of thin air? Where's it coming from?
Yeah, it's a lot per day. So what it is we're averaging right now about 260 million per day on their war with Iran. So 37.5 billion divided by 144, approximately 260.4 million per day. But that is a lot of money. I mean, we're talking $10.8 million per hour. You know what I mean? We're not fucking around with this type of money.
Right.
So it's an insane amount. Yeah, you're right, Heather. Absolutely. And Steve Easy says just another trillion to the deficit. No big deal.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. So you sitting here, you constantly adding money to this deficit that your ass is not going to pay off. You're never going to pay that. It's never going to get paid. You know what I mean? It's like they just spend until they can't spend no more, and then then once we get to the point that we can't spend no more, okay, now we'll do this reset. We'll start all over again and wipe everything clean because they know that they're never going to pay that, especially when you're talking about, well, we got 19 trillion in So why did that 19 trillion pay the deficit? Where'd that money go? You see what I'm saying? That was supposed to be the whole point. If you take it from here to pay this here, you know what I mean? But you steady adding to the deficit. You say 260 million a day. That's just for that. That's not talking about everything else that's going on. So where's this money going? Where's it coming from? You know what I mean? Because
that comes straight from the U.S.
You can't
Mint.
even print out that much in a short period of time. Where's that money coming from?
Those guys are just not only printing as much as possible, but there's also, of course, funds that they're going to, of course, dip into.
Well, they're going to dip in the funds, yes. But then when they go through dealing with this, they're going to have to cancel programs.
Of course.
So there's going to be a lot of these programs, especially some of these ones that you've seen, especially dealing with healthcare. I seen a thing the other day where they were talking about doing something different with Social Security, naming it something else, and so you got that going on. You got a lot of these different programs, like they're talking about Iran dealing with this with cyber and thinking that they're going to do cyber attacks, but you just cut the funding for the programs that deal with the national cybersecurity. You cut those programs. You basically cut the money in half and got rid of a lot of these companies that was actually dealing with national cybersecurity. You got rid of them. You know what I mean? So what are you doing? So you fighting on this end, hoping that this side over here will be able to sustain, but you cutting programs and you cutting funding. So what happens? It's like you put all the apples in this basket here, but you leaving this over here on this end, which makes you vulnerable. You know what I mean? Now, we've done several shows where we've talked about Iran, China, Russia. They try to hack into these systems every single day, numerous times a day.
Yeah, I mean, you should see the map where it shows the amount of locations that have been trying to infiltrate a certain part. Oh, hundreds, if not thousands a day.
Right. Every single day, they're trying to hack into these systems for your power grid, water infrastructure, anything they can get their hand, 911 systems. Aaron, you know that for being fact, because up in your area, they actually shut down that 911 system up there for a good little bit because somebody had got into it.
That's true. They sure did.
So the question isn't, can they actually do it? It's been done. It's been done. But when you cutting funding on that end, dealing with these companies that actually deal with that keeps them out of your power grid, keeps them out of your water plants, keeps them out of your hospital records and your 911 systems and all that stuff. When you start cutting that funding to put it over here, you're opening yourself up. I mean, and that's exactly what's going on here. You know what I mean? You can't keep sitting here just funneling money into the defense. You can't. You know what I mean? You're going to run out of money. I mean, because the more you keep printing out, the more you're dropping that value on. I mean, and it's already dropped tremendously already.
Invest in gold and silver. I know it's not the best price, but that's exactly what you're supposed to do is buy the dips. Real quick, let me go ahead and just show something I got to show real quick. Is something I wanted to propose is so the late right now, obviously, we're in the 12th consecutive night of strikes against Iran tonight. The 11th night concluded Tuesday, obviously. The AP reported fresh operations underway Wednesday night, which is obviously right now. The 11th night targeted targets including aircraft hangars, as just like AB was talking about, and drone storage sites, as well as drone operation centers, maritime military installations and logistics nodes. Now, the total number that we're looking at is exactly what AB said earlier in the top of the episode here, is 18 U.S. service members have now died during this conflict. And right now, what Reuters is saying is on this number as well, is more than 430 people have been wounded, according to Reuters' latest comprehensive tally. Now, let me go into see, there's financial cost that it says right here. Reuters reported the war has cost the United States approximately $37.5 billion so far. And the House passed a $95 billion budget framework covering the Iran war and other administration priorities by a narrow 216 to 214 vote. That budget proposal not proof that all 95 billion is exclusively for Iran or already has been spent, but we already know the deal. So right now, as of Wednesday night, Brent crude is looking at $94.07 per barrel. We're up at 3.36%. And then we have West Texas Intermediate, which is at 86.83, up $2.95 or 2.95%. And then Brent touched an intraday high of 95. So I mean it's peaking at pretty high levels here. Now, quickly, we were talking about the domino effect a little bit here, and the conflict is no longer confined to Iran, right? Iran has attacked or threatened targets connected to Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, which is also something the AB covered. Missile interceptions have occurred over Jordan, while alerts were reported in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. We're talking about right now. Okay. The Houthis have threatened a Saudi naval blockade in the Red Sea, which we already discussed, endangering Saudi Arabia's alternative export route when Hormuz is disrupted. And then we did have two Saudi tankers, but it's showing right here, Saudi tankers have reportedly turned around because of the Red Sea threat, but one actually was attacked. They're saying there's two, but as of right this second, and I'm sure there's developments coming out right this second as well that I haven't looked into yet. But anyways, that just something I wanted to cover real quick on that.
Mm-hmm. You know what you had on there when you was talking about the Brent price, and you had the Texas crude price and whatnot. So you see where that price is going up, right? Now, with that price, like we've been talking about before, you have that particular price there, and that price there is what can be manipulated. Then you have the actual industrial price, as in how much it's going to cost for them to take this
refine it
and refine it.
Right.
Okay. So let's say if that one is 86.83, and then you have this one over here, let's say that it's 70, right? What you don't want is for those two prices to meet.
Correct.
Because once they do, that turns that into 150, 160, 170. You know what I mean? That's when your gas prices shoot up to the ceiling. This is when you're paying $6, $7, $8, $10 a gallon. You know what I mean? Not just in California, everywhere. You know what I mean? If those two prices match up. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So they've been doing a lot trying to keep this price down. It's the reason why they've been going to the reserve, pulling oil from the reserve to be able to keep this price marginally down as much as possible. But now you risking going tank bottom by doing
well,
that.
yeah, we're lower than we were in the 80s right now.
Right.
So that's a big problem. In the 80s, that was a fiasco, you know.
Right.
So,
and it's going to be the problem now, because if you heard Trump last week, he said that he didn't care whether the strait was closed or not because he's selling oil over here. So if you taking the oil that's being pumped from here, you selling it, and you're not using that oil to put into your reservoir, you're going to run out. You know what I mean? There has to be a medium there. You know what I mean? There has to be a stopping point to where you're able to build your reserve back. And if you still need to export, you can still do that as well. You know, all of them going to have to be met. You can't just be sitting here just producing and shipping out. You know what I mean? Now you got the issue with Canada, which you was getting 4 or 5 billion barrels of oil from them a day. Now, with the relations going on between the U.S. and Canada right now, that's putting a strain on that as well. You know what I mean? And he don't, you know, we've been hearing a lot of things dealing with Canada right back and forth because Canada now, basically with their defense contracts, they stopped coming to the U.S. Now they buying stuff from over in Sweden. They're actually trying to do away with having to even deal with us all together. And they right beside us because that relationship has been just torn to shit.
Well, we just put another 50% tariff on their shit. So,
which is stupid because you realize that up in the northern part of the U.S., Michigan, Minnesota, all that area there, where do you think that power's coming from?
yeah, it does come from Canada.
Canada. So they flipped the switch over there. Most of your Midwest is going dark. You know what I mean? So it's only a certain amount that you're going to push them. You know what I mean? And it's been brought up before. If you keep doing this, we're going to do this. They've already told you that they were going to do it. They said this, almost a year ago. They said this. You going to keep poking the bear to find out?
Well, wouldn't that be a war crime then? You know what I mean?
No, it ain't
If they
actually a war
shut the
crime.
switch,
It's just basically
you know,
like,
I'm just saying,
cutting your shit off. You know what I mean?
I'm just being funny, but yes.
I mean, it's basically like, okay, well, you know, if you keep doing this and I'm going to do this, okay, you didn't destroy my power structure. You just cut my shit off.
Right.
You know what I mean? I supply it. So if I just
that's
stop
what I should
working
say. That's what I should say when I stop paying the electricity bill and they shut it off. I'm just going to call them up. This is a war crime. You know, you got to put it back on, bitch.
no, but that's just what it is. I mean, if you think about it, all these countries do the same thing. It's all about leverage. You know what I mean? And what is it that I can do that, you know what I mean, when push comes to shove, I can leverage you to do what I need you to do and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like we were talking before the show when we was talking about Iran and we was talking about the Gulf states. Okay. You know, yes, Iran has been a thorn in the U.S. side for the past 47, 48 years. But if you think about all the Gulf states, none of them like the U.S. anyway. None of them could give a damn about you anyway.
I think that's the way it is right now.
Right. And the only reason why the UAE, Saudi Arabia even deal with you is because they can't do it on their own. So does that mean that they got to kiss up to you a little bit to get what they need? Absolutely.
100%.
I mean, so like we was talking about the petrodollar and all that stuff earlier, and Aaron brought up some good points that we was discussing.
He sure did.
But you also have to put into that it wasn't Iran that affected the petrodollar. It was Saudi Arabia that killed
Absolutely.
the petrodollar agreement.
They could have re-upped the agreement.
Right.
I mean,
They
it was a
went
50-year agreement. Right.
Right. They could have went back, re-upped that agreement for another 50 years, 100 years, whatever, and left it at that. They said no.
It's easier to re-up a normal agreement that's already in place that you could set in, boom, you know, make minute detailed changes. Instead, they said, nope, we're going to do a whole different route and be with somebody else, which was what, Pakistan or whatever?
Well, what they did, they opened it up to
Right.
where anyone could use any currency.
The yen, they could have used the yen, they could use anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Saudi Arabia at that time was so busy behind the scenes trying to get into the BRIC alliance. Mm-hmm. So they had to sever this agreement over here in order for them to move over here. You know what I mean? But it was just the whole way that they done it. It was sneaky how they did it. They ended the agreement here. Then a couple of months later, when they had the BRIC alliance, here comes Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? Now, look what's going on. Now they want to give you $1 trillion to stay over there and finish the fight. Now they want you to do this and work with us on this and work with us on this. You the one that actually started this from the beginning. The only thing Iran did was double down on what you are. You know what I mean? Because now, not only are they ain't worried about hitting us, they hitting you too. You getting hit too. So
No, absolutely. I mean, we have the dead body of how many soldiers now? 18 is it where we're at?
Yeah.
yeah,
Let me,
17.
yeah, 18.
17, 18, 1 and 2.
Yeah,
But-
right. As of right now, the it went up by one in the last 24 hours or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah. So how many years have we been watching the news and all that stuff? And they showed all these different protests they had. They burning flags and they had dummies of the president burning them up. All this stuff. I mean, it's been in that area in the Middle East for years and years. You know what I mean? None of them over there like us. We already know that. But you got some of them over there though that know they're gonna lose their ass without us. So
well,
they
we're
have to get
we're
up.
kind of a convenient aspect
Right.
to them, and
Right.
and we know they know that they can gain something out of being with us in the moment. They're not looking super long term. They're looking in the immediate, and then they will assess as soon as everything calms down.
They're looking right now not to lose their ass because they losing
Absolutely.
their ass economically. They losing in tourism, all of that. Iran,
Everything.
they taking the
Yep.
beating too, economically.
Oh,
So they're-
$400 million a day.
Yeah.
They're
They're
struggling
getting
on.
hit too. But when you dealing with extremists that don't really a lot of these extremists that you got going on, these are military people. They don't give a shit about the economy. You know what I mean? You leave the economy to the economists. That's not our job. Our job is to do this. And that's what they're going to continue to carry out. That's the reason how they set this up from the beginning. That even if you went and killed the whole top crew, the whole administration, they can still function independently. That's how they have that structure. So you're dealing with a lot of independent groups throughout, all in the same army, but they all independently ran. So if you knock one, they're going to keep going. But this is something that has taken them years and years to build. You coming in their house. You know what I'm saying? So when you come in their house, who holds the cards? You in my house. Of course I know what's here. You trying to figure out what I got here. You know what I mean? Something's gonna have to be done. There isn't gonna be this agreement. It's not gonna be an agreement. It's gonna come down to one or two things. They're either gonna stop altogether and say, okay, listen, we ain't doing this no more. We're gonna set this up, and this is what we're gonna do from here on out, or you have to wipe it off the map. That's what it's gonna be. There is no middle. This talking, this in between talking, and you got Pakistan involved. You got Oman involved. You got all these other little countries that's involved, thinking that they're doing big things because they're negotiating. You're not negotiating shit. Only thing you're doing is just kind of prolonging this. You know what I mean? Those talks ain't really talks. When they're already saying we're not coming, there's nothing that we need to talk about. At that point, what is there to talk about? Okay, so if we can't talk, then we got to fight. That's it. You know what I mean? But these little pity pats that we doing, okay, we knock this out, we sit back, okay, well, we didn't hit you for 11, 12 days, now we're going to stop. What y'all going to do? I'm going to give you 3 days. You don't act right, we're going to hit you again. You know what I mean? Stop that. You're either going to do it or you're not. That's it. But you're going to have to do it strictly air, because if you put boots on the ground, these numbers here ain't going to be nothing in compared to the numbers that you're going to bring home.
No, if we put boots on the ground, we're absolutely fucked in that regard. We are the most badass force on the planet, no doubt. I don't doubt any of our troops or anything. I'm also a realist. I look at their landscape. I mean, I study different types of warfare, such as the Vietnam War. You name all the invasions we've done, I've read about it. I've done my research on it. It's a bloodbath and it's terrible. And this is what I was saying in the very beginning of this. I hope that we don't go to war with Iran. Then we went to war with Iran. I'm like, okay, all right, let's keep it in the fucking air then. You know what I mean? And if we get to the point where we put troops on the ground, which I'm not saying that we probably don't, we probably do have some black ops in there right now. But nonetheless, on an actual invasion level, if we did that, I think that that would be a massive L to the United States and as I think as a whole, it would be a loss.
Mm-hmm. And I think these numbers that they're putting out, I think these numbers is exaggerated. I think that there's way more losses than what they're saying.
Well, I'd like to add something there. Trump today signed a deal. I guess the Saudis were kissing up to us, like Bishop said. Trump approved a landmark nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia, which they claim this deal is going to be a big win for American companies and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We're going to send in some of these nuclear companies that's going to go over and make a bunch of money, set them up, train their people, show them how to do things, share nuclear technology with them so they can build nuclear reactors and have nuclear power. And I guess we'll supply them with the uranium. But after everything's said and done, they'll be in the same position Iran is in. They can enrich that uranium and make bombs. Now, what's Israel going to say about that? What's Iran going to say about that? What's Egypt going to say about that? All of them have a stake in this, if they want the Saudis to have nukes or not. So
I mean, why would you do that if
the balance of power is about to greatly
but you
shift?
see what I'm talking about
deal.
here?
Yeah,
but you see what I'm
that's
talking
the reason
about
why
here.
I put it in, because it proves what you said was right.
You know, you got, man, I don't get it. Like, this is exactly what it is we're talking about. Okay, so you don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, right? Now, if you would have kept the deal that they already had in place, they wouldn't have been able to enrich, because they were already stuck to, like, it was like 3% that they was allowed to enrich that uranium until they tore up their JCPOA. Then they were able to do whatever they wanted to do. Whether they want to admit that or not, that's fact. Now, you're going to bring Saudi Arabia in. You're going to sign a deal with them to where they're going to be able to have a nuclear plant or whatever. So then you're going to give them the opportunity to do the same shit that Iran's doing. Now, you can't possibly sit there and say, well, oh, they're our friends. They're not going to do that. They the ones that kicked you out the petrodollar from the beginning. They're the ones that's already done signed up to go into the BRIC nations to go against you and de-dollarize the dollar. Why would you try to make a deal like that? That makes zero sense. So what you're doing is putting another potential problem in that area. That's what you're doing. Does that make sense? You know, I don't get it, man. You know what? Sometimes people need to, you know, I know that these people have a job to do. From the top all the way down, everybody got a job to do. But I wish that some of these picks that they made for some of these positions were actually people that knew what the fuck they was doing, and not just make cornball deals. You know what I mean? It's like you trying to make a nuke deal over here, and then you got your fucking kids over trying to make land deals to build hotels around the shit. You know what I mean? That's what's been going on here. Same thing going on in Gaza. They turn Gaza up for what? So they can redevelop it and put hotels and shit out there. But you're gonna displace everybody that was there. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep this shit real. That's what they're doing. You know what I mean? This makes zero sense. And if anybody with this much common sense, just this much, you don't need a whole lot, just this much damn common sense, to figure this out. This is stupid. You going to get a station here that has 90 million people there, but you don't want them to have nuclear power at all, but you're going to turn around and give it to the ones right beside them. That's going to do the same. Because like I said before, none of them fuckers like you in the first place. Some of them just kiss your ass because they have to. That's the difference. Iran don't need to. They never have liked you. It's been public. They've said it to you. You know what I mean? I would actually respect that a little bit more for somebody to tell me to my face, I don't like you, as opposed to somebody kiss your ass for 50 fucking years and then turn around and stab you in the back once they get what they wanted. That's exactly what Saudi Arabia did. That's exactly what the UAE did. And they're going to continue to do that. The only difference is that they're sitting there offering you money and paying you, what, $1 trillion for each thing and finish the job because they know they can't do it themselves.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to mention one other thing, a target that Iran hit yesterday, which is a company called Teva, and they're headquartered inside of Israel. It's the largest pharmaceutical producer of generic medications in the world. Now, China makes the most regular medications, and then India follows. But this is the largest generic manufacturer in the world. And that place is in flames as of today. They supply treatments for cancer, treatments for heart disease, antibiotics, treatments for respiratory illness, steroids, neurological conditions. Hospitals, both in the United States and around the world, count on those medications. And right now, there is no backup. There's no country in the world that can come forward and say, we're set up, we're ready to manufacture the backup for those drugs. There is no backup. Iran, and everybody knows I'm not no fan of Iran, but I'm man enough to give credit where credit is due. Iran has showed me mastermind thinking with this whole situation. Every time we start to escalate, they raise the ante a little bit more. And in my mind, they got 3 more times they could raise the ante before they run out. But right now, I give them credit. They've thought this through real well. They knew by taking out that place, they're cutting global supply chain. By cutting the oil from the 2 straits, they're cutting global supply chains. They're also cutting the container ships that are coming through. None of them can get through. They're cutting a system that the world counts on. Any nation that's moving forward right now has to move forward in technology and energy is oil. You cannot have technology without energy to develop it. So Iran has really, really thought this whole situation out. They can hit some more oil refineries. They can hit the water and the power plants. And then they can escalate to where they bomb everything and burn the whole thing down. And then the final escalation, when there's nobody to complain anymore for the United States to stop this madness, and the GCC no longer exists to demand us to stop, the next target is here in the United States. That's the last escalation that they've got, with Iran's cyber division being ranked number 5 in the world. And they've got all kinds of sleeper cells inside this country. We're the final target. After that, there is no more escalation short of Russia giving them a bomb. So they've got about 3 more times to escalate and raise the ante on us. And when they start hitting us over here, the American population will demand for this madness to stop. When they start taking out schools, they start hitting old folks' homes that have no security or minimal security. They start hitting hospitals and stuff. There's going to be an outcry from the American public to stop this. But that would be the last, in my estimation, that's the last escalation that they've got short of if they've got nukes and they decide to use nukes after that. But they got about 3 more times to raise the ante, and then that's it. And can the world economy take that hit? I don't think they can. Nations are running out of stuff right now. That place called Tibu that they hit right now, it was announced today at some of the hospitals because certain medicines are going to start becoming in short supply for the doctors to cut back on prescriptions. People need medicine, and because you know there's going to be a shortage, you're not going to write the scripts, or you're going to cut down on their dosages that they desperately need. Iran is smart. They're hitting supply chains. They know what this means. And I give them credit. They were brilliant with this. I almost suspect the Chinese helped coach them a little bit because I didn't think they were that damn sophisticated myself. But I'll stop there.
Well, actually, don't stop there. So, real quick, we are at already an hour and 6 minutes. So, I do want to give you the floor, but I want to give you the floor on what you're going to present. And so, just keep in mind, we're already at an hour and 7 minutes. So, just here we go.
I'll talk.
Oh,
fast.
yeah, Aaron. And before you start, let me tell you, you got a fan on here, and they've been putting all kind of little love messages on here to you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
they've been putting all kind of little love messages on here for you.
It's great.
That's what me and Mike been sitting here laughing about, and I keep posting it, but you didn't pay attention to it.
I don't have my glasses on. I can't read the small print.
Yeah, so it says Aaron Hart with the little heart on it. May God bless you always. One said they love you.
Are you serious?
Yeah. This one right here. It's right here. It's right here. Aaron, I love you. It's a couple more on here. I ain't gonna embarrass you, but it's a couple more on here. But yeah, I just want to tell you that while you was sitting there just spitting all this out, they were steady typing. So I just want to let you know before it went through, and it said, please make sure you let him know. So yeah, I'm telling you
that did happen. So
I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate whoever said it. I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
What I want to cover today, and I don't want to go in one product. I want to cover a few. Basically, on one of the prepper channels I was on and was watching people write something. Someone asked a question, and that question was, in the event you ran out of ammunition, you could no longer use firearms, what is the next best weapon to have? And I sat back and thought about it. I watched what people were posting, and a lot of them said a knife, because a knife has multiple survival uses. And by a knife, we're talking a big blade, not no little pocket knife, even though if that's all you got to work with what you have. But you can tie these on a pole and turn it into a spear. You can bury it in the ground with the point sticking up to take out tires to make trucks stop so you can jack them. Lots of things that you can do with a knife. But the problem with a knife, and anyone that's ever knife fought, is that if you get into a fight with someone, they've got a knife and you got a knife, the only chance you got to win and is realizing up front is you're going to get cut. You're going to bleed. So if you go in knowing that, you got a better chance of surviving versus someone that sees their own blood and becomes scared and panics, and then someone's plunging a blade into them. Now, I practice throwing. So a lot of times I have throwing knives on me. I got a set of 3.
He actually walks around daily with those on him.
Even in my own house. And what I like about these are by Gil Hibbons. They have an edge on them, so I can slash and cut with them as well as stab. And then the metal tips are reinforced, so if you step out of range where I can't cut you, I can throw one into you. So I like knives. What has been proven superior to a knife in combat? That's tomahawk. This is by Cold Steel. This is called a trench hawk. It's pointed in here, flattens car tires real easy, but also goes through a Kevlar helmet. Then you got this in here that puts big wounds in you, and when they pull it out, it rips your guts out with it. I've got a little bit longer reach with this than I do a knife. So again, I have to take in consideration reach, because if I can engage a person out of his range, then that's better off for me. So next, this is a combat machete.
We're just going up the chain.
Yeah. This gives me reach. Multi-use, I can even use it to help build shelters with. But in self-defense, this is adequate. I'm not trying to sound racist or nothing, but I've seen a lot of Mexican gangs that walk around with these things down in their pants, and you can't even tell they got one on them.
That's true.
Look at the range difference between a machete and this knife. So if I'm going up against someone with a knife and I got a machete, I've got an advantage right off the bat. What's the most common weapon you're going to run into in the street? It's going to be a tire arm, a machete, or a baseball bat. So when you pick your weapon, it should be something that can counter those weapons. Now, if you got the money, you can afford a sword, great. Extreme range. I can hold you back at a distance, and this gives me power. The European-made designs are designed for power. They lop off limbs. Oriental Japanese is made very light for speed. You have to decide, do you want power? Do you want speed?
Real
Go ahead,
quick.
Mike. Yeah.
So real quick, you were talking about chopping off limbs and stuff. If you took out my other leg, I could be as tall as I want. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Anyways, here we go. Back to you. You.
Okay. Then you want extreme range. How about a spear? You can get it out. Someone's coming through your door. You can engage them before they're even close enough to do you any damage if they have melee weapons like a baseball bat or something. I mean, this thing's probably about 6 foot long. So, and that doesn't count my arm reach as well, which probably adds another 2 feet behind it. But ideal to have. And last but not least, how about a bow?
The silent killer.
Yeah. I got sights on. A bow has been a great weapon for defense since 2500 BC, back in the days of the Egyptians and the Romans. I mean, I can sit back at almost gun distance and take you out. I've got sights on this. I've actually got 3 bows. I don't have just one.
Jesus.
I shoot regularly. I've got an old laminated recurve by Bear. I've got a shorter hunting version. And then I have this one. I got all of them set for 50 pounds draw strength. But, is there one weapon that is best overall? I say it depends upon what region you live in and what weapons you feel that you're going to mostly encounter. Now, can I go out and just buy throwing knives? Yeah, but do you know how to throw them? Do you practice? Any of these weapons I just showed, is it good to have and not need? Yes. But do you actually know how to use them? I mean, you got YouTube, what I call YouTube College. You can go on there and type in anything, and there's videos on how to use. You have to practice. Practice gives you confidence. Confidence will make you a winner when someone engages you with hand weapons or melee weapons. So I'm going to stop there for now so I don't go too long.
No, that's awesome, Aaron. And I can't thank you both.
One last thing.
Go ahead. Okay. Oh, yeah, you do have your bear mace there.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
That's bear spray. This is designed to stop grizzly bears and mountain lions from attacking you that are charging at you that's enraged. You can see it has an extremely wide mouth. It throws a big cloud. Riot spray shoots 25 feet. Bear spray shoots 40. And I'm telling you, the OC in this is so damn strong that if you hit a person with it, they're gonna feel like someone just poured gas on them, lit them on fire. So if this will stop a mountain lion or a bear, think of how effective it is against a person. And it's non-lethal. So if it's not in your heart to draw blood or kill anyone, and you want to engage someone out at 40 feet, this is a viable alternative. But I'll stop there, Mike.
One thing I just wanted to point out on all of these things in combat, you can have all this equipment, but it comes down to your training as well, you know, and actually using it and getting familiar with it, whether it be a firearm, whether it be swords, it don't matter. You need to actually practice and implement these things and learn how to actually handle whatever you're using, whether it's a machete, maybe the proper ways to use a machete. People just think just swipe it around or something. There may be a super useful technique to all of these things. And I say get in depth with all of those things when it comes to anything related to combat, is you gotta implement those things. You can't just have it in your house and have a firearm, for instance, and never learn how to fucking use it, especially if you can't hit anything, that you might as well just have nothing at that point. So anyways, listen, I can't thank every single one of you guys enough. Make sure you guys hit the like button on both sides, whether it be my side, Archbishop's side. We're very honored to be able to do this, of course, every Wednesday. So listen, we'll be back here in 7 days, of course, for more of the madness. We are covering it as it breaks, obviously. So anyways, much love, honor, respect to everybody. Be safe out there.
Four.